Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Happy to be here talking about a project that's ongoing with Jeff Tomino, a colleague at the University of Florida. I'm going to start off with this picture. I actually saw this last time I was visiting San Francisco in the SFO airport, and this was just like the most perfect possible ad for my project. I couldn't believe this was actually true, but this is a company saying that we teach AI to think so you don't have to. And it's a real product, it's a real company, believe it or not, and that really kind of encapsulates the main point we're trying to make in this project, which is that people who offload tasks to AI become less motivated at improving their own ability to do those tasks themselves. So that's the whole kind of talk in a nutshell, thanks to this ad at SFO. A little bit of background here. Obviously, a lot of people are using AI for work tasks, and surprisingly, a big chunk of people are also admitting to using AI at work for their most important tasks. So it's not just that people are offloading really kind of rote or routine tasks. People are using Gen AI at work for some of the most important things that they do. I'm going to walk quickly through a conceptual model that we're going to be testing in this research. So the main effect here is going to be, the mechanism here is going to be perceived futility of improving skills. So we're going to show that when people receive effective assistance from AI on a specific task, it makes it seem more futile to improve your own abilities to do that task, right? Why would I do this thing if AI can do it for me, essentially? The perceived futility mechanism is going to, in turn, explain our main effect, which is people's interest in advice on how to improve their skills or improve their ability to do that task. So effectively, this is our main effect. Receiving AI assistance is going to decrease people's interest in receiving advice about how to improve their own skills. And then in one of the studies, we're also going to look at performance on later tasks. So we're going to show essentially a de-skilling effect, where receiving this initial AI assistance actually leads to worse performance later on when you no longer have access to AI. We're also going to look at two boundary conditions or moderators of this effect. So first of all, we'll look at the future availability of AI. So we find that if people know in advance that AI will not be available for subsequent tasks, we don't see this de-skilling effect because it no longer seems futile to improve your skills. And then we'll also look at participants' intrinsic enjoyment of the task. So for people who really enjoy something, having AI availability doesn't make it seem futile to improve because they just enjoy performing or practicing that task. So those people will not show this effect. I'll try to run through 5 studies here. Hopefully I get through them all. They're all pretty quick. First, showing a main effect on motivation to improve, as well as this de-skilling effect, so looking at performance on the second task. I'll replicate the main effect in a couple of different domains. So first of all, in a consumption-related domain. Second, in a marketing context with practicing marketers. I'll skip the mediation study, looking at perceived futility. I'll show 2 boundary condition studies so that the effect doesn't occur when AI is not available in the future, and the effect doesn't occur when people enjoy the task. All the studies are pre-registered, open data, open materials available at the URL. Okay, so in the first study, we recruited a bunch of users from Prolific, and we gave them several kind of logic, critical thinking questions taken from the LSAT. The independent variable was whether participants answered this question alone without any AI assistance, or they received help from AI. So basically, they could copy and paste the question into a chatbot in the survey and get the answer. The first DV here was after participants completed the first question, either alone or with AI assistance. We asked them whether they wanted to receive any guidance or advice about how to improve their own skills as a critical thinker. So we framed this quite broadly. We didn't want to just be interested in, do people want to improve their ability to answer this specific type of question? We wanted to frame it as, do you want to improve as a critical thinker? And then the second DV here is looking at this de-skilling outcome I mentioned, which is participants' performance on a very similar task subsequent to the first question, but without having any AI assistance. So again, testing this question of whether receiving AI assistance on a given task can worsen performance on a subsequent task when AI is no longer available. This is just the exact wording of the first DV, so whether they wanted to receive advice or guidance about how to improve critical thinking skills, so binary choice here. So first of all, what we see, this is the main effect I'll replicate several times in the project. Participants who received AI assistance with this task become less interested in improving their own critical thinking skills, less interested in improving their ability to do this kind of task without AI. Then the second DV, this is the second sort of LSAT question that we give people. Don't need to worry about the exact details of the question, but basically it's asking about, there's this correlation, what kinds of alternative explanations could explain this correlation. So we give people the second task to complete without AI assistance, so everybody's completing this specific task alone. And we see that the percentage of people who are correctly answering this task is lower among that group who received the initial AI assistance. So that's the first study showing the main effect, and then this downstream DV basically of de-skilling. Now I'll walk you through the quick replications here, first of all with the consumer task. So again, participants from Prolific. The task in this case was to imagine that you've been invited to a wedding this summer. The dress code specifies refined maritime. This is something we invented. It's not a real thing, but we wanted something that participants wouldn't necessarily know about in advance. So we asked them, what would you wear to a wedding that specifies this refined maritime dress code? Again, the independent variable is going to be either participants completing the task alone, unassisted, or with access to ChatGPT to help them do it. And here the DV, again, is interest in improving your own abilities or your own skills to do this kind of thing. So are you interested in learning more about how to choose the correct or the best outfits for different occasions? Again, see the same main effect here where participants who completed this task with AI compared to those who completed it alone become less interested in choosing to receive this advice about how to improve their style choices. One more replication for you in a marketing context. So we recruited people who specifically work in marketing roles, and we gave them a consumer segmentation task. So we showed them a picture of a camping chair and said, please describe 3 distinct consumer segments who you think would be interested in buying this chair. Again, completing the task either alone or with help from ChatGPT. And DV, are you interested in learning more about how to improve your consumer segmentation skills? Same effect, AI assistance with this task decreases participants' interest in improving their own ability to do the task unassisted. So those are the main effect studies. I'll skip the mediation study, like I said, but this is just quick mediation figure here showing that the perceived futility of improving your skills is explaining this effect. So a way to get at this mechanism more directly, I think, is to manipulate the perceived or the actual future availability of AI. Right? So if you know that AI will be available in the future, then it should seem futile to improve your own abilities to do that task, or at least it could plausibly seem futile. But if you know in advance that AI will not be available in the future and that you'll have to continue performing this type of task yourself unassisted, then it should seem less futile to improve your own skills. So that's what this study is testing. So this is a scenario study. We recruited people, again, who work in marketing. We described a scenario in which your job specifically involves writing ads. We assigned people to one of 3 conditions. So we told them either that your boss doesn't allow you to use AI at work, or the second condition was that AI is available to help you with this task and your boss lets you use it. So AI will be available in the future. Or that AI is unavailable. So we told people that AI can write ads in principle very effectively, but your boss doesn't allow you to use it, so it won't be available in the future. So it should seem, of course, less futile to improve your skills, your ad writing ability in that third condition. And the DV in this study was how motivated would you be to improve your own ability to write ad captions without AI assistance? So here, comparing the solo condition to the available AI condition, we replicate the main effect, where having access to AI to perform a task decreases participants' motivation to improve their own abilities. But when we add this unavailable AI condition, we eliminate the effect. And basically, people maintain their motivation to improve their skills when AI is not available to use in the future. Last study here, moderation by enjoyment. So this is shifting to another domain, specifically determining which headlines are fake news or real news. So we used this task taken from prior research. 2 conditions again in this study. Either they had access to AI to help them discern true from false headlines, or they had to do this task alone. And the DV, back to a binary DV here, so participants' choice about whether to receive advice about how to detect fake news accurately. We also measured in this study how much they enjoyed this task of detecting fake news, and that's going to be our moderator. Those are the specific items we used to measure enjoyment. So this is what the task looks like. Headlines, as you would see sort of on a Facebook news feed. The task is just to select which ones you think are true, which ones you think are fake news. So these are the results. This is basically just a floodlight analysis showing the values of task enjoyment for which the effect is significant. So for most people who don't particularly enjoy this task, the effect is significant. So receiving AI assistance decreases motivation to improve your own fake news detection abilities. But for this smaller sample of participants who did enjoy the task, the effect is not significant, and AI assistance did not affect their motivation to improve. So contributions of this work, I think it's identifying a plausible mechanism for cognitive de-skilling. There's been some interesting and important work on this phenomenon of AI de-skilling. I think we might hear about some of it later in this session, but not much of that work has looked at a specific cognitive mechanism that could explain why de-skilling might occur. We're suggesting that the perceived futility of improving your own skills once you can offload something to AI could be one of those mechanisms. It provides a little bit of evidence, I think, for when de-skilling is more or less likely to occur. So specifically, the future availability of AI. When you know AI will be available in the future, de-skilling should be more likely to occur compared to when you think you might not always have access to AI in all scenarios, as well as enjoyment of the task. So when people are intrinsically motivated to perform a task, when they enjoy performing it, you should be less likely to see de-skilling. That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions.